there! I wanted to answer the question today of what is a 529? So 529 is an investment account with tax benefits when it is used for qualified educational expenses. So let's break that down. An investment account means that just like an IRA or another investment account, you can buy stocks, bonds, ETFs, mutual funds inside of this special tax wrapper. That's a 529. What do I mean by qualified educational expenses? Well, the cool thing about a 529 is that as long as an educational institution qualifies for Title IV federal student aid, that could be considered a qualified institution for 529 expenses. So what that means is a college, a university, a vocational or trade school, even K through 12 expenses, and get this, student loan repayments. So pretty much whatever you can think of with education involved that might qualify as an expense that you can take out of your 529 plan. The tax benefits are very much like a Roth IRA. As long as you are paying for those educational expenses with the money, you can take money out tax-free. That's pretty cool. I get very excited about that as a financial planner when I can say the words tax-free. So a few things to know about qualified educational expenses are you could pay for things like tuition and fees. You can pay for books and supplies. This includes computer, software, and internet access. Pretty cool. You cannot use the 529 plan proceeds for things like transportation, however. So you couldn't buy your kid a car and say that was used for school. No, not legit. Also, health insurance is not covered, even if it is offered by the college or university. That's not a covered expense. And also, college application fees are not considered a qualified educational expense. So there are a few exceptions. You kind of have to know what you're doing there. But for the most part, it's pretty lenient if you are buying something for education. So it's very flexible. But then I get the question a lot of, well, Laura, my kid went to school and they got scholarships and we didn't end up needing all the money from the 529. What can I do? A couple of things. First, keep in mind that you can rename the beneficiary. So you could rename it to another child. And it doesn't have to be your child. It can be a niece, a nephew, a grandchild, a neighbor. The relationship is not the important part for qualifying for a 529. So you could rename even, get this, to yourself. If you wanted to go back to school, you can rename yourself as a beneficiary for your 529 funds. Pretty cool. Also, as I mentioned earlier, you can use the money to pay back student loans. This is relatively new. Up to $10,000. So for most people, that's not the entire student loan balance, but you can use up to $10,000 out of your 529 plan to repay a student loan. Kind of nice. Other things to keep in mind about a 529 that could make it potentially attractive. There is no income limit. So it doesn't matter how much you make, you're not going to come up against a ceiling for 529 contributions. There are also no annual limits. So you're not subject to that IRA limitation you probably are familiar with. But you do want to be careful because each state has its own aggregate limit of how much they allow you to put into a 529 plan. So you want to check that out so you don't surpass the state aggregate limit. They are pretty high though, so just be aware of that. And finally, contributions to a 529 are not federally tax deductible, but they could qualify for state tax exemptions depending on your state and depending on your 529. Which leads me to the last frequently asked question, which is, where do I get a 529? Well, each state has a sponsored 529 plan, and some have more than one. There are over 100 529 plans out there right now, and if you do the math, there's 50 states. So some states have more than one. You are not required to purchase the 529 plan in your state. That's entirely up to you. For example, in the state of Texas, where I am, since we don't have state income tax, a person that resides in Texas could pretty much do a 529 anywhere because they're not going to have a state income tax deduction because it doesn't exist. So you can shop around for 529s online. One of the websites that I recommend is savingforcollege.com. A lot of great information there. You can compare different 529s. You can also compare different types of college savings accounts, not just 529s. So I hope this very quick rundown of what a 529 plan is was helpful to you. Please do reach out, give us a call, or send me an email if you have other questions about what a 529 is and how you might use it. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.